Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. We're going to dive right in and dissect the very architecture of suspense. Today we're looking at this totally fascinating source narrative known simply as Sarah's story. It's literally a masterclass in how tension is built from the ground up, manipulating our expectations to create just genuine fear. We're going to break down the anatomy of tension by walking through exactly what happened to Sarah on one specific Friday night, and we'll see exactly how a feeling of absolute, utter safety is systematically dismantled. So, how quickly can an ordinary Friday night turn into an absolute nightmare? It's a concept we all kind of inherently understand, right? You've probably felt it yourself when a floorboard randomly creaks when you're home alone. But we rarely break it down step by step. In Sarah's case, the shift from mundane safety to creeping horror was methodical. It was a quiet shift. And to understand how that psychological shift works, we gotta establish the baseline first. Okay, let's dive into this with stage one, false security. Now, every good suspense narrative needs a sharp contrast, a baseline of total normality. Our brains actually need to register complete safety before they can be effectively terrified. Sarah is a 19-year-old girl and her evening is entirely uneventful. There is absolutely zero reason for her to be on guard. And it's important to remember this wasn't some new, unfamiliar environment for her. Sarah had been babysitting for the Millers for almost a full year. That's dozens of uneventful, routine Friday nights. At 9 p.m., like clockwork, the kids are put to bed. Post 9 p.m., she has this quiet house on the edge of town entirely to herself. I want you to really feel that relaxed cadence here. The chores are done, the house is silent, and a deep, deep pattern of safety has been firmly set. To really ground us in her quiet isolation, picture this. She was sitting comfortably in the living room. She was half watching TV, half falling asleep. Her guard wasn't just down, it was practically non-existent. You know that feeling, the low hum of the television, heavy eyelids? This is the absolute peak of comfort. It acts as the perfect quiet canvas for something truly alarming to drop into. Then we hit stage two, the intrusion. Suddenly, that peaceful silence is completely shattered. A ringing phone in an isolated house cuts sharply through the quiet, and instantly, the narrative shifts from sleepy relaxation to sharp alertness. Now, what's really interesting about this is how completely logical her reaction is. She picks up the phone, hears literally nothing but breathing, and hangs up, just assuming it's a wrong number. I mean, we've all done it, blaming a creepy moment on a bad cell connection, right? She doesn't panic. The threat has tapped on the window of her safe space, but her mind just rationalizes it away. The tension is simmering, and then the waiting begins. 10. That is the exact number of minutes that passed in absolute, agonizing silence. Just sitting there, alone in the living room, after a bizarre phone call, with that initial logical dismissal slowly giving way to this creeping anticipation. That gap of time is just absolutely crucial. It isolates the threat. It allows the mind to wander in that quiet house on the edge of town, building up a really heavy, unspoken dread. Which brings us to stage three, the escalation. After those agonizing 10 minutes, the phone rings again. This time the story shifts from a mere nuisance, a perceived wrong number, to active, undeniable dread. Because when she picks up that receiver, it is the exact same thing, just heavy breathing. This establishes a clear pattern. It's no longer an accident. It is completely intentional. And then the breathing breaks into a voice. Check on the children. The voice on the phone was a whisper, and it was calm, just way too calm. This solitary, chilling command completely freezes Sarah in place. It takes the abstract creepiness of a heavy breather and targets it directly at her one profound responsibility in that house, those two defenseless kids asleep upstairs. And this brilliantly illustrates stage four, rationalization versus instinct. This is the immediate psychological conflict that happens inside all of us when faced with sudden terror. Sarah is frozen, her brain violently splitting into two totally different directions as she tries to process that far too calm voice. On one hand, her logical brain desperately tells her it's just a prank call from a friend. It's trying so hard to force reality back into a box of normalcy. But on the other hand, her primal instinct, this heavy, sinking feeling right in her chest, tells her otherwise. Physiologically, her amygdala is sounding the alarm, pumping adrenaline before her conscious mind can even process what's happening. Her biological gut instinct is fighting fiercely against her rationalization. This brings us to the climax. Stage 5, the terrifying realization. Sarah simply cannot ignore that feeling in her chest. She acts on her gut. She forces herself to move from the safety of the living room, slowly walking over to the staircase to do exactly what the voice commanded. Let's trace her exact realization as she stands there at the bottom of the stairs. First, she looks up. The hallway light upstairs is off. But here is the absolutely crucial detail. She remembered leaving it on. That visceral visual cue shatters every single remaining rationalization she had left. Her safety hasn't just been threatened over the phone. Her physical environment has been altered. The perimeter has been breached. The house on the edge of town is no longer empty. The architecture of suspense is complete here. We've seen exactly how false security, a quiet intrusion, and a battle of instincts can